Hey, what's happening? Jeff Pish here. Another lesson video. We're going to check out some stuff today. We're going to get right to it. We're talking about the hi-hat today and subtle things that you can do as a player that I like to use. Again, anytime I put a lesson video up here, it's just my personal experience and how I approach things. If it helps you, then awesome. Then you should subscribe and like the channel and all those things. Like the video, I should say, and subscribe to the channel. But if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't work for you, that's okay. Like I've said before, this whole arena back here can be approached in a million different ways. So there is no one definitive answer to all the questions. So that being said, as I said, we're gonna talk about the hi-hat today and things we can do as drummers, musicians, to help enhance what's happening with the groove and the feel of the band. So this is all application to a musical situation. So I'm going to take basically maybe like two or three different beats, if you will, and we shall, and kind of break them down of the different nuanced applications I'm using on the hi-hat to change what the feel of the groove turns into, if that makes sense. You'll understand as we go. So I'm just going to play, first of all, I'm just going to get a little loose. I'll play this groove for you. It's kind of a New Orleans funky, meters-esque kind of vibe. And I'm just going to demonstrate some different things and sounds on the hi-hat that will change how this groove feels as we go. So let's check it out. So you heard a number of different things happening there. So, basics, upper levels, lower levels. So we're changing dynamically, louder notes and softer notes. We're using the different surfaces on the hi-hat. We can throw one under there once in a while. If you're looking for something really high-pitched, a subtle sound, and you have a chance to open it up, get there. It's a nice little ting sound. You can jump in there. That's a side note. But so you can hear what those accents in different sound textures, where I'm playing on the hi-hat with our arm on the top with the bead, or getting into the shaft on the side. It creates these nuances and creates this feel. If I were just to play straight eighth notes, one volume level with the bead on the top, I don't know that it's going to do a whole lot. Let's check it out. I mean, it's there. The time is okay. It's got a it's a particular feel to it, but it's not robust. It doesn't give this super cool vibe that you can get out of changing volume levels and textures in there. So here's just utilizing accents and the beat and shaft, I should say, on the hi-hat for these different sounds. And now you get a sense it has motion to it. It's got shape. That's one thing we want to do as musicians back here. Just like a saxophone player wants to, get through a note and give it some shape. We want to do the same kind of thing. We're utilizing, a basic sound source here, one sound source, but we can shape things in a musical way that creates that nice shape to it and gives you a much more melodic flow to your groove. All right, so fair enough. So there's concept A, we could call it. Utilizing accents, grace notes in there. The other concept I'm using in there is changing the rhythm. We're not just going straight eighth notes. Even when we add the accents and stuff, I'm changing rhythms in there just kind of based on what I'm hearing in my head. If I were in a live situation or playing with a musical ensemble, I would adjust those accents to support the melodic phrase or the rhythmic phrase that the guitarist is playing, something like that, or reinforcing the bass with some counter melodies on the hi-hat. There's a lot of things we can do over here if we just think about it. I feel like a lot of times the hi-hat in itself can get neglected and not as detailed as when we're thinking about the cool big fills around the drums. There's these nuanced ideas can create and really, really enhance what you're doing from a groove standpoint. So A was the volume levels. B, changing rhythms, getting away from just the straight eighth notes. So let's check that out. So here's a straight eighths, even with accent. Even I have a hard time just playing straight eighths there when I'm thinking of this melodic idea. And again, that feels nice. There's a time and a place for that. It can be appropriate when it just needs to be straight eighths. If we're thinking musically in a song, if this kind of funky offset beat is our verse, then maybe going to what I would call a strong straight eighth, meaning accented eighth notes with the shaft on the side of the hi-hat. I would call that strong eighths for like a chorus. So it could be something like this. So I'll go verse a couple bars, and then what I would perceive as a chorus. So here. Like I didn't play to the one. So you hear what that can do. That gives a really strong push and drive to the groove, which offsets that cool, funky, nuanced feel that we had on the hi-hat. So there's that. So now we're talking about rhythm, which concept B. So straight eighths versus, what we would consider more of, broken hi-hat. Carter Beauford kind of made that the big thing back in the day, back in the 90s, because he's unbelievable and created these amazing feels out of taking away, everyone's okay. Taking away just straight 16th notes on the hi-hat and creating, different syncopated rhythms over there. And that just really, I guess he brought it to the mainstream. I mean, there were other guys doing that. You look at Dennis Chambers, the way he plays, and those kinds of things. But all those guys, they're detailing the hi-hat and doing something different on the hi-hat to create feel. And that's where a lot of that comes. I mean, they're playing a lot of 2 and 4. They're playing the funky beats with big backbeats. So the nuance and the vibe comes from what they're doing differently on the hi-hat to make those things happen, if that makes sense. Drop me a question in the comments if you have any questions on any of this information so far. Now, so that's playing on the hi-hat. That's what, those are things. So we talk about volume levels, changing rhythms, a combination of two, obviously, is the idea here, to be able to combine those volume levels with those changing rhythms. And so that's where we are using the sticks on the hi-hat. Now, another thing that I put a lot of thought into is what my left foot is doing if I'm playing on the ride cymbal. If I'm over here on the ride, I'm going to do different things in my left foot to, again, it's about helping the feel and helping the groove happen. So again, let's take kind of let's just kind of stick with that feel, it's a good as an example. So now I'm going to put the right hand on the ride. We'll keep the left hand here. The first thing I'll do is we're just going to go quarter notes on the left foot. Gives a nice time, gives it that nice feel, and just kind of sits in there. So let's try that. Okay, so there's quarter notes. I feel like, so quarter notes is something I would go to if you wanted to sit back a little bit. There's air there, there's more air between quarter notes, in that note rate. So we're going to be mindful of that, our note rate in there. Now, let's go to eighths. So we'll double it up. It's going to give it a different feel. I'm not going to change really much. I mean, again, I'm improvising with my hands, but it's in that same feel. What that's going to do now, putting eighth notes over there is going to drive it a little bit more. It's subtle, but it adds to the drive. So let's check it out. There's the idea there. Now, take it one step further. If I'm going even bigger, if things are getting really happening, especially if it's like a big funky thing, I want to create more, I want to take up more space sometimes. There's a fine line about how much space you want to take up, within the ensemble. But if it's getting pretty big and there's a lot of long notes happening in the soloist, if he's kind of jamming it up and, everyone's really kind of trudging forward and creating this big open moment, I'll start opening the hi-hat on the left foot, and we can do it either on downbeats or upbeats to, again, affect the feel. So if we'll start with upbeats, 1 and 2 and you'll see how that feels. Let's demonstrate that. Again, I'm not going to get too much into technique with my left foot. I could probably do that on another video, which I probably should do. But honestly, if you go back and take a look at my double beats on the bass drum, it's basically the same kind of technique. A little bit different, but pretty similar. It's that flat foot, toe situation. So flat foot, toe. And that's another one you got to work out slowly so that you can get that muscle memory in there, create that kinesthetic memory so that you don't have to think about that. You don't want to think about what the coordination of that is. You just want to play and have that be a go-to vocabulary moment within your groove. So let's check that out. So let's groove on it, and then I'll go to the upbeat high open hi-hat splashes, and you'll see what that feels like. So I'll start with just straight up, and then I'll open it up, and you can feel the difference. Here we go. So now it sounds like a whole New Orleans, ensemble drum line going down the street. Again, like I said, it takes up more space. It grows that feel and creates this bigger moment. Same, we can flip it to downbeats. Now I like the upbeat version in this particular feel better, but again, it's another option. If it feels right, again, you use your ears, understand what's happening in the ensemble at all times. And now we can get, and sometimes going to the splashes on the downbeats might be more effective or more appropriate. So let's check that out. Same thing, I'll start closed and then switch into the downbeat splashes. Here we go. And there it is. There's the downbeat open splashes. And again, it's another effect, another way to subtly enhance what you got going on with your groove. So there's a couple cool hi-hat ideas for you. Things that I go to a lot, in various musical situations. To go back, check them out, and mess around with them. I used one particular feel for all of these examples, but you can use hi-hat in those ways in pretty much any style of music. You just think about it, take some time, detail it, whether you're playing some rock and roll beats that might be a little bit more straight, but you can, try different rhythms over here, or try the accent thing when you're on the hi-hat to create a different feel and give yourself a chance to help the music push out and grow as it happens. That's what these little things can do. We can, if you're being real subtle and playing lower levels here, changing rhythms, it's a cool little verse thing. Then we want to get big, we jump over the ride and we're thrash it a little bit more. Then we start adding the splash on the left foot. It just really, really opens things up and creates a mass total area of dynamics. And that's what we like to have back here, so that we're contributing as a full-out musical entity and not just playing beats. That's really the big picture in my head anyway, is I'm not just playing beats back here, I want to contribute to the music ensemble. So there it is. Today's little lesson focused on the hi-hat. Appreciate you checking it out. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, trying to start to boost the numbers, and hit the like button, share it with your friends, send it out to your drum students if you think it may benefit them, send it out to non-drummers if you think it's something cool for them to check out, and stick around, I'll catch you on the next one.